Hi there and welcome back to Japan, where today we're going to be listening to the Wisely Brothers, and this is the first of our Wisely Brothers weekend songs that we're going to be reviewing. This is TOBIRA, and by the way, just in case you didn't know, and if you're new to the channel, this is the review video, the reaction I've just done. You can watch by pausing this video now, clicking the link in the description below, which will open up a separate little YouTube player where you can see the reaction, should you need to see that first of all, in case you haven't heard the song, in case you want to hear the song before we proceed, or if you just have heard the song and want to see how my face moved when I heard it. Otherwise, here comes the review. Are you ready? Have you heard the song? Have you seen the reaction? Are you ready for the review? Are you unpausing now after having watched it? Because here we go. Coffee time. So this is the first of the ones we're doing for the Wisely Brothers weekend, like I say, and I must admit this is a nice start. Like I said, I wanted to do these in chronological order. I wanted to go through their career in a sort of a chronological order, going back to 2014. This is the oldest video I could find of theirs, oldest professionally made music video of theirs I could find, and it has a feel to it which is how do we say, immediately likable. Now, many people will probably know that I have a little bit of a difficulty sometimes with bands who do what I refer to as the jangly pop or jangly rock, which is where you have that sort of very light, low distortion guitar, strummy, 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 sing, sing, sing. Nothing really happens. It's kind of like, it kind of feels like there's a lot of bands doing that, and so many of them kind of seem replaceable and like they're all kind of just in one mix. You could replace one with the others. So you need something to make you stand out. Now, these guys, obviously, when we're looking at this song, we're looking at something which is definitely of that sort of jangly pop, jangly rock variety. But what sets this apart, I think, for the best part, is the way that they apply their personality into it. And there's a few key moments where that comes true. And they're things that often maybe not all of them would be things that I would normally say were positives in the song, but if done in the right way, they come across correctly. Now, let me explain. Most of these things are where they go off of form, where they do something which differs from what you'd normally regard as the way that you do a good quality pop rock song. For example, I noticed that in the second chorus, there's the bit where she's changing up the lyrics and she's throwing in extra syllables and the words start to sound rushed and start to sound a little bit muddled and offbeat. Normally, that's something that most people would say that's a sign of, oh, that's really bad lyric writing. That's, that when something sounds like there's syllables being jammed in, that's always a bad sign. But here it's clearly being done in a playful way, because they nailed the first chorus in a very simple way, and then the second chorus comes around, it's a little bit more wordy, there's a little bit more of that, and you can hear in her voice, this is the big thing, you can hear in her voice that she's expressing, she's singing like she's talking. This wonderful quality where she's somewhere between singing and talking. I mean, she's singing so lightly that you can actually hear her voice kind of breaking. There's such a complete lack of strength to her voice, which I think is because of the fact that she is going for that kind of, it's conversational. And this then bleeds through into every single aspect of the song. Notably, like I said, in the second verse, you have that wonderful way that everything just sort of slows down and it breaks down. You can tell that this is to match the mood, then it builds back up. Again, as I pointed out, that's something that you can only really do now. I mean, you can do it in any band, really, but it comes across much more expected and much more natural in a band like this. You've got quite a raw sound because you know that they're not recording to click tracks, they're not recording to set tempos or anything, they're just kind of playing. There's this sort of loose feel throughout, a loose feel that applies to the backing vocals when there's little bits which is just a little bit flat, and there's just, but none of it in a bad way, all in a way where it just kind of sounds homely and natural and like you're there with them. And that's one of the interesting things about the whole thing, with that whole expression, with the whole way that the song feels like it's almost being spoken to you, where you can feel the mood, where you can feel the atmosphere change with the tempo, where you can feel all of those things in it. It does feel incredibly welcoming, like you're there with them. And that's the thing that hit me more than the song itself. The song was good. I wouldn't say the song was like, oh wow, something I've got to write home about. But the way it was delivered for me was fantastic. No flair, no attempt to be showing off, no attempt to be rock and roll. It was very personal. It was like a message from me to you, a direct communication. And that's what I really loved about it. It felt personal. It felt like someone was playing something that they cared about and that they wanted you to care about as well. Now, just from an arrangement perspective, I did want to mention one other thing. I mentioned this in the video, the reaction video, but I do think this is very important. I often say about three-piece bands, and I'm sorry for anyone who's heard me say this a million times before. I think I was even saying this on the previous channel, but it's something that I have to say. There's kind of like 3 ways that you can do a three-piece band. And I love three-piece bands for the best part. You can either do a three-piece band where you play as just being that, and you just straight up play your songs. Which is kind of how this comes across, only being the first song that we're reviewing today. You have some bands who do every single thing to extract every last piece of space, considering drums, bass, and guitar fill very different positions in the EQ. Things like Sokoninaru, where they will play any technique, anything, whether it be writing or production, to make the most out of the sound. And then you get a lot of bands who they say we're a three-piece because that's our core, but we basically hire a lot of session musicians to do extra things and fill in the sound. So bands who basically they rely on that three-piece core, but they do actually do a lot of things around that, usually by production and other elements. Now, like I say, these guys come off like they're playing in that sort of straight three-piece way, but why that kind of... when that works is when you have an ear for subtleties. Like I say, a lot of this, in this case, was the expression. You know, it wasn't about any sort of tricky musical techniques. It was about the expression. But the other thing I noticed was that the bass player, who wasn't playing anything complicated for the best part, was nicely countering the guitar, wasn't following the guitar, was going against the guitar in a lot of ways, producing very simple harmonies between the chord that the guitar was on, the chord that the bass was on. There was that sort of element that they were adding a thickness by not just copying each other. I imagine to the layman's ear, it's probably not even noticeable. It's done in such a clear way because they change chord at the same time, they change note at the same time, but they're not always landing in the same place. You know, they're doing things that counter to each other. And I thought that was really nice. I like that each time the chorus went round, you heard something new in what the bass was doing as a counteraction to the guitar. So for me, I think that there was a lot of subtle nuance to the writing that really helped. So yeah, I've got a lot of positivity to take away from that. I need to find a tissue. I'll get to that later. Don't worry. I'm alive. It was a song that I think there's a lot of positives to write about. Certainly at the beginning of a band's career, early in a band's career, that's a really sort of nice, strong, modest, but very competent, very knowing, very self-aware start. And I think one thing I say for all art, I think this especially applies for movies actually, but music as well, in a very large degree, is the best way to do art is self-aware. When you know what you are. When you try not to be something that you're not. Because if you know what you are, then you can express that in a million different ways. There's a million different ways of approaching every single thing. But just so long as you're doing something that matches you. And for me, that's, you know, that's what comes across in bands like this. So, like I say, strong, self-knowing start. Anyway, as always, we've got a few more of these coming today. So this is not the last of it. Look out if this is the first one you're watching, which hopefully it is. You're watching them in order. Look out for the other ones, which are also coming out today. I'm going to release them all very close after each other. And yeah, I would say a big, big thank you to CMC who recommended that we check this band out so long ago. I'm taking a long time getting around to doing this, which is why we're doing a whole weekend to catch up. Obviously, please leave comments, leave your thoughts. I'm really looking forward to seeing what you guys think, whether you know the band or not. Liking and subscribing and all the YouTube stuff is always appreciated. Remember, all of the other social medias we have linked in the description below, because we got a lot of followers who like to talk about Japanese music, who you can join there, including me. Pop by. And also a big, big thank you to anyone who is supporting financially through things like the Patreon. That is a massive support, as this is all completely non-monetized. Not often that you hear that, is it? So, a big thank you to them, big thank you to you, big thank you to everyone who's made it through to the end of this Waffle Fest. And until I hopefully see you very soon in Japan for the next one of these, for now, ciao ciao.